Are you a serious landscape photographer looking to take it to the next level? Or maybe you're just curious about the difference between a professional and an amateur landscape photographer? Then you're on the right video. Maybe you're already a professional and you just haven't realized it yet. So what are the most notable attributes of a professional landscape photographer? I've listed 6, but this list could go on, but I think these are the most important. Number 1, a professional landscape photographer is a master of composition. They understand perspective is everything. A pro works the scene by moving around, getting low, trying various angles. You never see a pro just walk up to a scene and just throw down a tripod and start taking snapshots. A professional always considers the rule of thirds and balance of a composition. I know I've said this before, but a professional looks for leading lines and foregrounds. Nothing beats a foreground, but professionals seek interesting subjects and they consider different aspect ratios to help bring balance to the scene and complement the composition. Number 2, a professional has conviction. Now, this doesn't mean that the rest of us have no convictions, but a professional landscape photographer is a master of obstacle removal. Simply put, they don't let things get in their way. Now, I know this might upset some of us, but I'm going to say it. Professional landscape photographers, yeah, they get up early and they go to bed late. And it's just part of the job, and I think it's just the price of doing business. A professional photographer is also a planner. You know, they can be found reading books and scouring the internet, and in the past maybe even visiting the local library for fact-finding and inspiration. Well, maybe some of you still go to the library, but I digress. The point is, they're excellent at researching, and they usually plan well in advance. In fact, you may have even encountered a professional landscape photographer canvassing an area for potential compositions. You know, they're the person that looks crazy, pacing back and forth, you know, the ones talking to themselves. That's the person observing where the light's going to be falling for a particular time of day. Indeed, you may have even seen the same photographer a day earlier in the same location, looking around just like he was before, but just as crazy. And I know I've mentioned this in the past, but professional landscape photographers often return to the same location, attempting to capture the composition under the best conditions possible. Number 3, professional landscape photographers understand light. Now, I know this may sound like a trite remark, but I really can't overstress the importance of understanding light. Often, you know, I see a fantastic composition is just captured under the wrong light. And, you know, I've even done this myself, but the point is that professionals, they use the golden hour to their advantage. And of course, most landscape photographers, they naturally understand light, but a professional uses light to provide emphasis and focus and draw the viewer's eye in the direction that they want it to go. Also, a pro understands the limits of their camera's dynamic range and uses the histogram to ensure proper exposure. Now, a histogram is a graph that displays the amount of brightness of an image, from black being 0% brightness to white being 100% brightness. And if you don't understand histograms, I would highly recommend just kind of reading up a little bit on the subject and maybe watch a few videos on understanding histograms. Number 4, professionals use their gear as a tool. They don't obsess over gear, but they do buy what they need to get the job done. Now, I like gear as much as the next person, and I have my fair share of gear that I don't use and I really don't need anymore. Indeed, well, it's probably true of most of us, if not all of us, including professionals. However, a professional landscape photographer places composition above gear. In other words, a pro uses gear to transform an artistic vision into something tangible. I like the analogy of the painter using a brush to paint an image on a canvas. The brush isn't making the art, the painter's making the art. A professional has a toolbox to carry everything they need, and an amateur has a camera bag. A pro uses lenses to capture a digital or film representation of their vision. Indeed, you may have noticed a few landscape photographers doing some interesting things out there in the field with their gear. These professional landscape photographers are indeed strange animals. They arrive at the scene prepared and have expectations for the direction, the quality, the quantity of light, and they're often seen using a tripod and a cable release to minimize camera shake. Indeed, they may have even been seen in tall grass lying face down in the mud with camera in hand. There have also been sightings of these strange characters on their knees, sporting stylish knee pads for comfort, when the situation demands a low perspective. Number 5, like the dark rooms of yesteryears, today's professional digital landscape photographers, they have to embrace Photoshop. And let's be honest, Photoshop is the new dark room. Most photographers probably do the lion's share of their editing in Lightroom, and that's certainly true of me, but as a professional photographer, one must be able to use all the tools of the trade. Indeed, some things are just better done in Photoshop, such as exposure blending, focus stacking, removing distracting or unwanted artifacts from a scene. I mean, nothing beats removing a beer can or cigarette butts better than content-aware fill and the clone stamp tool in Photoshop. Number 6, and lastly, printing. Every professional landscape photographer I know either prints their work themselves or they send their images out to a professional lab for printing. I've often heard my colleague and professional landscape photographer Glenn Samuel from Sniper Photography say, there's no better way to improve your photography than printing. And I absolutely agree. Professional landscape photographers understand the value of printing. Indeed, it's not just the act of printing and hanging one's art on the wall, but more importantly, it's what we learn from being able to see the minor details in the print. You know, the ones that we miss on the monitors. The colors, the contrasts, the subtle shades of light, they become transparent, stand out. The benefits of printing just can't be overstated, and that's why professional photographers, they print their work. Indeed, this little secret is well known among the professional landscape photographer circle. If you're a serious landscape photographer looking for that one tip, that one tip that will significantly improve your landscape photography, there's none better than printing. On that note, you may want to check out my video, 5 Pro Tips to Instantly Improve Your Photography Using Any Camera. You may also be interested in what's the best focal length for landscape photography. Here's the links to those videos. There's also a link in the video description. If you like this video, make sure you consider subscribing to the channel. And if you do subscribe, hit that bell icon so you're notified of any future videos that I post. Also, leave a comment and share your thoughts. And as always, if I don't see you down the road, maybe I'll see you on the trail.